Saul Canelo Alvarez moved up in weight yet again to fight Dmitry Bivol, which was a very surprising matchup. I mean, big ups to Canelo for moving up and taking on the challenge of fighting another champion in a weight class above him. But how was Bivol able to just pick Canelo apart round after round?
Yeah, man, first of all, it was definitely tough to watch Canelo Alvarez, one total, loss in his entire career, and now he faces the second one. And, some judges had this scored 9-3, so definitely slanted, and some all the way up to 7-5. So you could float around, I guess, 3.5 to 4 rounds is what Bivol won by. But, you look into the tape and your eyes don't lie to you. Bivol was bigger. He was stronger. He was more durable than Canelo. And, I mean, you can even see the mass advantage. And for some of you that don't know, Bivol's never been knocked down in his career. If that speaks to the toughness of him, he's a huge dude. He's a true 175 fighter. I mean, huge arms, great stature. And you saw it time and time again that Canelo's clean shots, whether it was an uppercut or it was a body shot or it was a jab, that Bivol was literally kind of eating them, stepping to the side and reset, and he was ready to go in for more. Like, he truly ate this fight the best that he could. And Canelo, unfortunately, kind of spent a lot of his energy at the beginning and really just couldn't crack the guard. Bivol would escape, and Canelo was kind of having to reset, and that was just so much energy for Canelo that he's not a true 175 fighter. And you look at the fact that, Bivol stuck to the game plan. He didn't fall for Canelo's traps or, baited into the counters or anything. The guard was great. The discipline was fantastic. The footwork, I mean, he really stayed patient. And again, he's used to fighting at this weight. He fights at 175. Now, you talk about Canelo. He is not a natural 175 fighter, so I think his conditioning was a little off. When you're fighting, even if it's, incremental pounds, what some people to say, it's a lot when every action really, really matters, especially for a guy like Canelo. When you look at the fact that he wasn't on his normal game plan, he came out trying to win the fight in the first 5 or 6 rounds. That's not Saul Canelo Alvarez. He studies his opponent, first maybe 4 to 6 rounds. He's kind of, letting the opponent maybe have the fight, but overall just kind of downloading that data and understanding what's really happening with his opponent. Then we know Canelo's usually really, really dangerous around the 7th round. That wasn't the case here, though. The arms were low. He was tired. I mean, it was more kind of head movement than it was actual arms up, guard, footwork. And you could see, again, that the conditioning simply was not there. Let's take a look at, a couple times that Canelo fought at 175. He obviously fought Kovalev. So, many people, ironically, had Kovalev winning that fight walking into the 11th, but Canelo did knock him out, so he clearly took the victory. And then when he fought Billy Joe Saunders just a few months ago, Billy Joe was actually doing decently well in the fight. Then, of course, Canelo broke his face. The meme was everywhere. The massive uppercut in the fight was over. But again, you could see the body language. You could see that when the 7th came around, Canelo just really was not there. So, he was gassed. He was fighting at a heavier weight. And again, Bivol he was built for the moment. He wasn't falling for anything. He boxed very fundamentally, and it got him the unanimous decision over the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Hats off to Dmitry Bivol. Hell of a fight. Hated to see Canelo lose, but what's he going to be like coming off adversity? I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, however, not champion in light heavyweight.
Right.
I mean, Bivol has been a highly disrespected champion. He's sitting on a belt right now.
Big dude.
He does. I mean, he came out there and outworked him. His conditioning was better. Canelo really relied on his power. Like, he thought that he was going to end up landing one of those big shots and just completely changing the fight. And as he started to realize that Bivol was eating him on top of just completely outworking him, I mean, he damn near threw twice as many punches as Canelo did. He rushed him and overwhelmed him for the entire fight.
Yep.
Canelo could not get comfortable at all. I mean, he did well just eating shots because Bivol was hitting them left and right the entire fight.
Yep.
From round 1 to round 12. He completely smothered him, just hit him with everything. I mean, Canelo did a good job to not get dropped in this fight as much as he got hit. So I've never seen him get hit that much.
Yeah.
I think the only person that really touched him like that was Floyd, but he doesn't have nearly that kind of power.
Right.
So I think Canelo really felt like he was going to land a couple of those, get a one big shot in, and it was going to completely change the fight, and he'd be able to walk his way through. So, I mean, in him moving up to 175 for this fight,
Yep.
I mean, I really feel like Canelo, he needs to move back down to his natural weight. This is just a bit much that he bit off. I mean, we could see a rematch, and I mean, this wasn't a bad fight at all. It wasn't a snooze fest like the Thug Rose fight, but it also wasn't a good fight for Canelo. It's just a little bit too much for him. He needs to go back. I mean, I think we were looking at possibly getting another Canelo Triple G fight, and he might pursue that. I wouldn't be mad at him at all if he just go ahead and concedes that weight class is a little bit too much for him. Walk it on back. But, I mean, knowing Canelo, he'll probably take the rematch.
Yeah, and, you know, like I was saying when I finished my take at first there, we love to see what athletes are off of adversity. How do you bounce back from big moments? You know, people were talking about Giannis last year in the finals. Can he hit his free throws? Can he actually be consistent enough in the big moment? And he did it. And again, you know, it's when you look at, again, everything overall, it's not really shocking that the way Canelo boxed versus Bivol that he lost. But of course, it's shocking that he lost the fight overall because he was a heavy favorite. You know, some people had Bivol winning the fight, but you look at when, you know, he could step back down, and I totally understand that as well. But, you know, are some people going to say, oh, you jump up and, you know, get worked in a whole 12-round thing? 12-round fight, unanimous decision, so you're going to step back down? Or do you try to, it's a slippery slope. Do you try to stay in that weight class and fight at that 175 and, you know, truly show people that you can dominate at that light heavyweight spot? Or do you take it gradually and then hop up? Because again, Kovalev had the upper hand on him. Some people say Billy Joe Saunders was winning at that point, but Canelo got the upper hand later in the fight like he usually does. Obviously, it didn't happen that way with Bivol, gassed himself out up front, so we're going to see how he adjusts into this light heavyweight spectrum. I'm excited, man. If there's another rematch, let's go for it. If he fights Triple G, is that the third one?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, that's always been great, though. I mean, I'd go for a Triple G fight. I'd go for, for another one against Bivol. I mean, now he knows. Someone has Canelo's number. And people around the boxing world are going to pick up on that. No question. You know, we've seen a crack in the armor outside of Floyd, which, you know, we know about Floyd. We're not going to sit here and talk about him, one of the greatest of all time, best defensive boxer ever. You know, how is Canelo going to adjust to this? People have tape. People now have a blueprint on how to beat the best pound-for-pound fighter. I know he's not a champ, but they got paperwork on how to do it. Tape, rather, so we'll see what happens. And it's not from, you know, the early 2010s. This is a decade later, now facing his second career loss.